Hello, moviegoers, and welcome to another episode of CritiCarter, the show where I turn you into a cinephile. This week I saw the new film, Men in Black 3, directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, written by Ethan Cohen, not Ethan Cohen, let's be very specific on that, and starring Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, Emma Thompson, Alice Eve, Jemaine Clement, and Michael Stuhlbarg. Agent J wakes up one morning to discover that his beloved yet curmudgeonly partner K has actually been dead for the last 40 years. He quickly realizes he must travel back in time to stop K's assassin from ever killing him in the first place. It's been 14 years since the Men in Black trilogy first hit screens.
Wait, this is for Men in Black? Sorry.
If I could throw something at you right now, I probably would.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm listening.
I honestly never expected a third film to come out after how the second one ended up. But there were a few things that this movie did do very well.
Yeah!
There are 3 spectacular performances in this movie. Number 1, you got Josh Brolin playing the young version of Agent K. While he's clearly too old to be portraying someone who's, according to the film, 29, he's nailed acting like a less gruff version of Tommy Lee Jones. And if he didn't do as well as he does in this movie, and if the dynamic between J and K wasn't there like it was, especially in the first movie, this film probably wouldn't work. Second great performance of this film, Michael Stuhlbarg. Now, the name, don't let the name catch you. He has done a few things, and you need to go out, stop this video, go out and see him if you haven't yet. He was in Hugo last year. He also did a great movie with Coen Brothers called A Serious Man, which I want to say was 2009, but I could be wrong. He doesn't really come in until about halfway through the film, but his character is just... I honestly didn't realize it was him until the credits rolled. He's just... he really gets immersed in the role. And anybody who can immerse themselves in a role like that has my respect. Which brings me to the third wonderful performance in Men in Black 3. Bill Hader is playing Andy Warhol. You guys know, you watch SNL, you see Bill Hader every week being the funniest man in America right now. And it's great because, you know, and you see this in the trailer, so it's not really spoiling anything. Andy Warhol is actually an MIB agent. He is Agent W. And so there's this great Marilyn Monroe kind of dichotomy that he plays him as. You know, you've got the regular agent guy, which is just, you know, talks normally. And then you have the persona of Andy Warhol that he puts on, which is like an effeminate John Malkovich kind of thing. And he just really beefs up the eccentricity of the character. And they even do a little riff on, you know, the bananas and the soup cans and things like that Warhol got famous for painting later on. The next thing that I really like about Men in Black 3, Rick Baker. Rick Baker, for those of you who don't know, is one of the greats when it comes to advanced makeup. He's worked on all 3 of these movies, as far as I know, doing the alien designs. And especially when, you know, we have the... Is this going to show up? Like, is this going to be a problem? Should we just shut it off now and then...
Keep going.
Okay.
Funny.
Especially in, you know, this day and age when so much is done with CGI, to see somebody like him and his company still so dedicated to their craft, which is, some would say, a dying art. You're not helping.
It's just like... Who doesn't want you to do this?
It's very impressive to have folks like Rick Baker out there in the world still doing something that they believe in so strongly. The final thing that I really dug about Men in Black 3, in the trailer, there's a line where there's this arbitrary 24-hour time limit that Jay has when he travels back into the past. And that's one of those things where it's like, why can he only stay in the past for 24 hours? Nobody really knows. And fortunately, that line was nowhere in this film. Someone made a very wise choice to cut that between the editing of the trailer and the editing of the final released film. Thank you, whatever genius that was. And now, I have to tear apart everything else. Time travel movies are very hard to do, especially when you have characters from the modern day going back in time and meeting younger versions of people that they know. There's a big issue that if you think about it, gets brought up even with Back to the Future, which some would argue is probably the greatest, most beloved time travel film of all time. Because the whole thing is, if you mess with the time stream and you go back, and then this person has met you before they met you in the normal timeline, then they grow up with this memory of you, and it's just, it really messes with somebody's head. And I really didn't want to have to bring this up, especially right after doing my review of The Dictator. There's some very uncomfortable racial, and I would go so far as to say racist, humor attempts in this film. And there's a run-in that Agent J has with a couple cops as soon as he gets back to 1969. But there's one that just really, like, they really went out of their way to do. The film has this running gag of chocolate milk soothing the headaches that you get when you're in a temporal rift. Like, 'cause the other thing about the time travel, Jay is the only one who remembers Kay after the day that he was killed in this alternate timeline. How that works is never explained. But because of the fact that he's the only one who remembers Kay, he's getting these headaches, which are soothed by the chocolate milk. The first thing he does when he gets out of bed, he goes down to where Kay's apartment should be, and there's this family living there. There's this mom and her couple kids. And one of them she's holding in her arms, and the kid's got a little sippy cup full of, you guessed it, chocolate milk. So first you see, there's an over-the-shoulder shot of Jay, looking into the apartment. He takes the sippy cup from the little girl, and they reverse the shot, so you see Jay drinking the chocolate milk. And through the wondrous miracle of ADR, they've given this little girl a line of dialogue. And she says, "Mommy, the president is drinking my chocolate milk." And he didn't even say please. Just because there's a skinny African-American gentleman at your doorway wearing a nice suit does not make him the president. Any implications to this effect are incredibly offensive. Maybe there were moments like this in the first two Men in Black films that I just wasn't aware enough to pick up on them. I haven't really watched them recently. That little kid shouldn't have even been talking. They went out of their way to give this child a line of dialogue that didn't need to be in there. This child is too young to understand who the president is, first of all. Let me continue, please. Because we're going to spend the whole rest of this video on this one point, and there's more that I need to address. Another thing, there's a lot of over and under explaining that goes on in this film. When Jay gets to MIB headquarters for the first day after the time rift has happened, they spend a lot of time addressing this thing of Kay having been dead for the past 40 years. It's picked up on very quickly. Even if, let's say, let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say you haven't seen any trailer for this film and you just walked into it blindly. They spend at least twice as long as they need to on the point of Kay is dead and has been for the past 40 years. And then later on in the film, things progress and they under-explain some things. Like how certain characters know to be in certain places and how they get certain bits of information. Again, I don't want to say too much. Spoilers. And these last 2 points, they're maybe a little more personal than generic film criticism, but it's stuff that bugged me. Will Smith, in his younger days, was considered a rapper, and he used to write rap songs for the films that he was in. He wrote one each for the first 2 Men in Black films specifically. For this one, we don't have that.
Aww.
Instead, we're treated to a new song called Back in Time from Pitbull. Sadly not up to par with Will Smith's songs, which is saying quite a bit. Even though he's apparently too good to release an actual song related to this film specifically, he's perfectly okay with performing at the after party for the premiere and performing his 2 old songs. That's not a distinction you should be above making, Mr. Smith. Finally, the 40-year aspect of this film, going back about 40 years, and the about it needs to be stressed because it's not, this is 2012, so 40 years ago would be 1972. They go back a few years further. They go back to July 16th, 1969. Now here's the thing about July 16th, 1969. A very significant historical event happened that day, which ties in to the plotline of the film. Speaking as a Floridian who is indirectly affected by this event, I gotta take off some style points. Because not once when they were shooting Men in Black 3 did I hear, oh, yes, there's a scene that happens in Cape Canaveral, so we're gonna come down and shoot there. No. You get to that part of the film, and it's all very noticeably done on stages with green screen or blue screen or who knows what. You'll never hear me say anything good about the Transformers franchise except this, right here, right now. At least Michael Bay had the decency to shoot his scenes at the actual Cape Canaveral. I'm gonna have to give Men in Black 3, which by the way, should not be seen in 3D. It was post-converted, as all terrible 3D films are. I'm giving Men in Black 3 2.75 out of 5 odd-colored neuralizers. The first two Men in Black movies, which again, all three of these share the same director, which means certain stylistic choices should be cohesive and be the same from one film to the next. The first two films bring out the neuralizer, you know, the little zappy thing, erase your memory, little red lights. Men in Black 3, little blue light. What the hell? What the hell, Barry Sonnenfeld? Why did you do that? What purpose does that serve? I want to know. If you can come up with a good reason that the neuralizers for all of a sudden just switched from red to blue, please tell me. The comments are wide open. Leave me something.
It's an upgrade. The blue one, the blue light's better.
Well, then they should have addressed that in the film.
They upgraded the firmware.
If you're gonna make changes to things, you gotta address the changes. Oh hey, why is Captain America wearing a new costume in the Avengers versus his old costume in Captain America? Because S.H.I.E.L.D. made one for him, and they thought it would work better. We don't get that here. Last week, I saw The Dictator. Reviews linked over there. Next week, I'll be seeing Snow White and the Huntsman. That review will be up over there. I apologize to anyone who wanted a review of Moonrise Kingdom this week. Apparently I was lied to by everyone, and it's only playing in 4 theaters nationwide. Seeing as how I don't live in New York or Los Angeles, it's gonna be about a month before I get to see this movie. Like and favorite the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Fade to black.